Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a review of the M103, the Tier 9 American heavy tank. So this tank follows on from the T32, which was a bit of a disappointment. However, I think this whole tank line really is just a fun and easy line to get used to, really. Just good all-round heavy tanks. So we're going to take a quick look into the stats. As we can see here, it has 1,850 hit points, which is about average for a tier 9 heavy tank. The top speed limit of this tank is 34 kilometers an hour, which is pretty slow, but you will get there and you will keep that speed thanks to the engine power, which is 860 horsepower, which gives this tank a specific power to weight ratio of about 15.2. So, taking a bit of a deeper look into the engine, the top reverse speed is 12 kilometers an hour. Honestly, you won't be getting anywhere quick with that. And something else to take note of is the fire chance of the engine is 20%. And as all World of Tanks players will know, an American tank who gets hit in the arse is most likely to get set on fire. So, we're going to take a look at the gun last, as that is probably the best feature of the tank. This is where your crew sits. Be wary that shots to the lower plate will pretty much always kill your driver. Something else to note is this is where the ammo rack is. There's 3 in this tank, and just be careful, as if you come around a corner, someone will shoot you through the track, not only blowing your track off but damaging your ammo rack as well. And this is also a key to taking out the M103. If you're like brawling with an M103, if you can get in its side, shoot in the front part of its hull, and you will most definitely damage its ammo racks. So the turret has a 32-degree rotation speed, which is not too bad for a heavy tank. Really, it's actually quite good compared to the other tier 9 heavy tanks. And combined with the 28 degrees of rotation speed on the tracks, this gun really can turn around quite fast and deal with any fast medium tanks or light tanks trying to circle it. So now looking at the main factor of this tank is this gun. And this gun is absolutely fantastic. It's the 120mm gun M58, which you will get on the T110E5. The stats state here that the reload is 11.2 seconds, however with my crew and my equipment, my reload is about 9.66 seconds. The aiming time, 2.3 seconds, not too bad at all. However, you may want to run a gun lane drive just to get that reload down a little bit better. Accuracy of 0.37, again, not very good at all. Honestly, close range it won't really matter, but once you start getting past 200-300 meters, you can see the accuracy really will start to fail you. So, the elevation of the gun, 15 degrees, not too bad, but just be wary, if a tank is quite high above you, you will not be able to shoot that high. The max gun depression of the tank, 8 degrees, pretty good. Fighting on ridge lines with this tank is very effective and can be done very easily. The front of the turret is quite bouncy, and with the gun depression it hides most of the top of the turret roof, sorry, so you will see when we have a look more in depth at the armour of this tank. So before we look at the armour, a little bit of the equipment I use. I literally just use a large caliber tank gun rammer just to get my reload down, and I really don't want to pay for more equipment because I'm a bit of a cheapskate when it comes to that. But I carry 25 rounds of armour piercing ammo, 5 rounds of heat, and 3 high explosive ammo. You will see this is the stats of the gun here. 258 penetration on its standard rounds, which is fantastic. 258mm will really be able to get through most things you'll face in this tank. However, you have 340 penetration on your heat, which is very, very good. And the only time I really use heat is if I'm being face hugged by something like an E100 or I am being face hugged by a Jagdpanzer 100, or you know what I'm saying, like a really heavily armoured tank. The high explosive rounds I only carry 3, but they'd be used for something like a Waffenträger E100 if I happen to stumble upon one of them in a game. So, consumables, I carry 2 small repair kits, just because I told you that the ammo rack gets damaged fairly often in this vehicle, and it is very annoying to have this tank with a damaged ammo rack. Also carry a small first aid kit for the driver and sometimes the commander when people hit the cupola. The only reason I do not run a fire extinguisher is because I have firefighting on my crew, and normally I do not let tanks shoot me in the arse, so I never normally get set on fire. So I'm just going to take a quick look into the armour of the tank. So we can see it ranges from 20mm to 254mm. However, we can see that from this tank really does look like a rainbow, really, of just colours. So the whole armour is 228 on the front, 44 on the sides and 44 on the rear. And the turret armour is 254 at the front, 99 at the sides and 53 on the rear. So, right, so the tracks are 20mm of armour. I would never recommend side scraping in this tank because the side armour is so weak. However, it can be done because the tracks are so wide and they do take up so much of the side. If you side scrape at an angle like this, your tracks will eat the shells and you will be relatively safe. 21 to 30mm is on the bottom part of the back of the hull, the engine deck, and these little ears, but these little ears are a no hit box, so do not shoot there. 31 to 50mm, that is the top of the turret, the upper part of the back of the hull, and the top part of the sides of the hull. The top of the turret, if you're level, it's going to be really hard to hit, and most things won't be able to penetrate you unless they have a gun of 150mm or more. Once you start even getting to an angle like this, just above the tank, shoot there by all means, you will penetrate every time. So we have 51 to 70mm of armour on the back of the turret and also in the middle of the hull. We have 71 to 90 just in the middle of the turret, 91 to 120 on the upper part of the front glacis and the lower plate, also just above the gun mantlet, the sides of the turret and the commander's cupola. Something to note in this tank, just above the gun mantlet it does get quite flat, and that is a place where the tank will be easily penetrated. However, if you are using your gun depression, that will be an auto ricochet. 121 to 160 on the front part of the turret. Never ever shoot an M103 here. This is pretty much going to be an auto ricochet with every single shell. The only time I think you may be able to penetrate it is maybe with a Object 268 firing heat ammunition, but other than that, nothing really is going to pen these cheeks as they are so well angled. Next we have 161 to 190mm just behind the gun mantlet and on the front upper glacis. So this brings us on to the 223mm of frontal armour. This is the beak. So from the stats you can really see that that can be quite deceiving, as the 223 is literally just on this beak. But hitting the tank here, you probably will bounce. There's not much that will be able to go through there. If you hit the tank at even just a slight angle, it will ricochet. You also have 254mm of armour just behind the gun mantlet, but you should never be shooting any tank really in the gun mantlet. So that's enough for the garage stats. So guys, now we are in a tier 9 game on Overlord. So you can see here we're top tier. Now Overlord is quite a funny map for me really. I think the outcome of the match really does depend on where your team goes. Honestly, I think if you go down to the beach, really it's pretty much a death wish, because any tank with decent gun depression can just shoot right over the top and easily take you out. Also the middle area, or everywhere else apart from there, really can be easy pickings for artillery. So no matter where you go, really it is quite risky, and you can take hits pretty much from everywhere, which is why there's not really much cover really. So we're pushing up. We're going to push up into this little ridge. This will hopefully provide us with some protection. Honestly, I would never normally recommend coming in here unless you have at least 2 other tanks with you, because if you go down here alone you will get swarmed most likely, and as you can see, artillery really still can hit you. So I'm going to push up and just try and use this ridge and really put my gun depression and my decent frontal turret armor and this amazing gun to work. So pop over, snap a shot into the T-34, which damages his fuel tanks. So now we can see the enemy M103. We pop up, snap a shot into his cupola, and we pull back. So now we're spotted, and I do try and come up onto this side just to try and give me a little bit more cover from artillery, but my gun depression isn't good enough and I cannot hit the M103 again. So we're gonna move towards the edge of this little valley to try and take out the M103, but then we see another T-34 who is on low health, so we decide to try and get the gun out of the game. So we fire, get a nice roll, however it was not enough to take him out. Right, so he gets taken out. I'm going to take a shot in the side of the turret then from the T-2064. So you put a nice snapshot then into the T-69 as he's moving. And now you can see the enemy M103 is here now, and so is the Super Pershing. So I'll pop up, take a hit from the M103, snap one back into him. Super Pershing ricochets. However, he reloads, tracks me in the open. I decide to use one of my repair kits just to get me back over this ridge to ensure that I will be safe. So at this point I can see the E75 friendly coming up next to me, so I decide to push over with him. He gets tracked at the top, so I decide to just come down and take out this M103. Do not want to fire the shell in until I know I can penetrate straight through. Now I didn't know really here if the Super Pershing was aiming at me, even though now I look back at the footage I can see the rounds coming out. But he doesn't really pay any attention to me at all really, so I'm just going to sit here and just put shell after shell into him. So yeah, this will take, well, I think he only needs one more shell and then we take him out. So yep, he's gone. So now I think our team was losing at this stage, yes, but there's also now, okay, so we fire a shot into the T-32. The third man comes up to take a shot. However, I push up to try and get myself behind this little bunker just to make sure I'm a bit further back so that they won't have much to shoot at except my turret. So the third man misses. We penetrate straight through his upper glacis, his superstructure. T-32 plowing straight through his upper plate. The penetration of this gun is very nice. You won't really have to worry about not being able to penetrate the T-32's hull really. So we take him out for our third kill. So now we're just going to push down here. I do see the Crafts Panther and I do want to really put a shell into him. Unfortunately we cannot. And I can see now our T-20 has got himself into a bit of a pickle with a full health Tiger pretty much. So I rush down. I can see that the T-20 now is on very low health, so what I do is I just stick my great turret armor in front of the Tiger. We ricochet his shell and we do that so we can help save our T-20. I'll take a hit in the side then from the Crafts Panther, and we get a thanks from the T-20 in the chat. So now we're going to move down into this little nook so we can shoot down onto the tanks on the beach. We take out the WZ-131. Now we're going to try and take out this T-69. He gets taken out, but we can take out the AMX-30. And now we can see the Conqueror is the only remaining tank down on the beach, so I come down, bit risky doing something like that. You could potentially kill yourself doing something like that. So Conqueror not paying attention to us, put shell into him. He's now turning around to try and engage me. Ricochets his first shell. We got the gun depression to aim down onto his upper plate. We push him up onto the hill, we pull back. We ricochet his shell again, and then we take him out. So that secures our 7th kill of the game, which is our Top Gun medal. Most definitely secured now with 20 penetrations. So I decided to come around this way to hopefully find their artillery on the way back up to the top. There is a Craft Panther, a Jagdtiger and their Batchat 15555 left on their team. So we get spotted, which means that the artillery must be nearby. So I know really I can probably take a hit here, but I decided to just take the risk. So he does hit me, and then we get a nice high roll on our 120mm gun for 440, which can take down that tier 9 French artillery. So now I'm just going to try and rush back, because I know this Craft Panther could be a bit of a pain for our artillery and could potentially take them out. So I'm just pushing back as fast as I can. As you can see, the speed of this tank uphill, we're still going a fairly decent speed. You can see we now have 8 kills. I do not believe we managed to get a shell into the Craft Panther. However, you can see now the speed of this tank, we're doing about 12 kilometers an hour uphill, and when we turn we stop pretty much. But you can see now as we come onto the flat, you can see the speed of this tank can get up to speed and is pretty much at its top speed already. So the artillery manages to take him out. So I think this was probably the best game I've ever played in the M103. So we made 85,000 credits with the premium account, 6,490 XP on a double. By the way, that operation was only for 5,000 silver, so we earned about 3,000 base XP. It was my ace tanker in this tank, and also the Radley Walters medal, Top Gun Devastator. And that is pretty much it for the review of the Tier 9 American Heavy Tank M103. So thank you very much for watching, have a good day, and I'm out.